For our third episode, I'm honored to welcome Dr. Angela Soong, a renowned property investor, award winning developer, and successful entrepreneur with a multi-million pound portfolio spanning property development and business investments. As a prolific landlord and business coach, she has mentored countless individuals in building wealth and financial independence. A dynamic networker and investor, Dr. Angela has held leadership roles in Ishkama Global Change, Footprints Family Office, and London Titans Property Group, fostering collaboration and growth. She has spoken at Harvard, Cambridge, and the UN, sharing insights on business, property, and financial literacy, and continues to champion diversity, equality, and economic empowerment. With that, I welcome Dr. Angela Soong. Hi, Angela. Welcome in a
Hello, thank you so much. I'm honored to be here.
I am delighted to have you here. Today's conversation is going to be really helps a lot of people. And the topic of today's conversation is financial literacy. But before we dive into it, I want you to tell our viewers a bit about yourself and about your career progression, how to start in property development, investments, and then we'll take the discussion from there.
Thank you. Thank you. I really don't know where to start. Where to start? I think as a topic about finance today, so I would just say the beginning is always about how you handle money and where do you get the information of the money you start from, which is generally your family. And my family has always been entrepreneurs. And that's the thing, because when you see your parents as working, how they work for money, you then have an idea that, okay, either you like it that way or you want to change from being employed to being your own entrepreneur. So that's the idea. But I think because my bloodline of family has always been about entrepreneurship, working for others, saving, and then eventually having your own business. So the idea that stems from going into employment is only temporary. So when I graduated from university, and already I was doing management roles in my dad's businesses, which were food chains, basically, when they first came to the UK. So that's what they did. And it's not what I want to do. I worked into it. I've been in management roles. I've done all the deal with environmental council, suppliers, customers, tax, accountancy since I was 16. So I've had to lead that kind of role when my parents have been away for a long time and going to school, university at the same time. So I've had to grow up very quickly. But so after university, one of the first things I wanted to do was to explore what other options are there in terms of not working in this industry and getting out of something I don't want to do. So I did teacher training and I was a science teacher for about 4 years. Then during that time, I remember one of the profound things about money I remember is in those days, everything wasn't digital yet. Right. But you had the intranet inside the schools, but the internet was so slow. And we had trays where we had pay slips and it wasn't digital. It was all printed and you have to snip off and open up. So I looked at where everybody got their pay slip at the end of the month. My manager was right in front of me and he was in charge of like 25 people in 2 departments. And when he opened his pay slip, he was on something like 40,000 at his age of like 50 odd, 60 years old, maybe another 10 years of retirement. He's got no hair left. He's always stressed, running around and doing all this stuff and telling people off, and all these bad children were given to him to discipline. So at that point in time, when my salary, I started salary was about 17,000. I'm talking about 20 odd years ago now. Yeah. And I just thought, wow, is that what I'm going to get in 20, 30 years time? And I just thought, no, I'm not going to stay there. And that's when I read the famous book called Robert Kiyosaki, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And I just wanted to get out, not be employed. I wanted to invest in properties. I wanted to do investments and make my own fortune and not be dictated by the state pension, what you're going to get. in those days, state pension was good. You get double whatever you put in. It's a different matter now, how we are. But I've never been reliant on thinking, hey, I'm going to wait till I'm 65 to be looked after by the government or get my payout or my savings. No, I didn't want that. I think I always wanted the freedom to do whatever it is that I want. And I think another book that I was inspired to is the 4 Hour Work Week. And yeah, 4 Hour Work Week. So even though the idea is there and you will try to get to it as near as possible to do, maybe even reduce it from 10 hours a day to 4 hours a day, and then from 4 hours to 2 hours. So that is the kind of lifestyles that I've been really aspired to live a life of what you call vocation.
Yeah, yeah.
There's lots of things I've done on the way. After becoming a teacher, I wanted to try my own business. So I had my own skincare clinic. I did a lot of laser treatments, mold removals, and I love playing with technology because I was a science teacher and I love exploring things. I was a bit of a scientist. I like testing things and doing things. But
Yes.
after being in the skincare, my own business for about 7 years, 8 years, sold that. Then I moved on to do other things and I tried different things.
Oh, that's great. I mean, knowing you, obviously, you're very curious and you want to have your hands full with multiple things going on. And I think that's very exciting in itself. You learn along the way. So, when you moved to property investment, I mean, you were pretty new to that industry. How did you kind of get into it and then come out a successful investor yourself? Because
Mm.
assuming at that time that buying property was cheaper as compared to what it is today. And I also want to ask you as a follow-up question to that is in today's financial climate, is it better to invest in property or to rent? Right. So we'll take one question at a time.
So in the days where I invested, it was about 2011. It wasn't even intentional at the time. I came out these my own business thinking I need something new because it was a lifestyle change because I have two young children and the first one grew up pretty much I couldn't be there for him and he was already like 3 years old. And the other one is 1 years old. Although I did spend some time with the little one, but I decided that that was what I needed to time my children. Being in the clinic from 9 o'clock till 8, 9 o'clock every day, I get back home and my children are asleep. So I didn't watch them grow up. So I decided that that wasn't even though it was my own business, that wasn't the lifestyle I actually wanted to pursue and grew up, my children growing up without me. That was the point of it. So that's where I decided to come out, find something new. So I got into solar panels and it was the worst year to get in because the government feed-in tariff went from like 48p to like 18p and then 16p within 1 year. So literally the solar panel business was thrown out. The only thing in solar panel business was left over was free solar panels. So instead of me trying to sell people the package, which was good at the beginning, right towards the end, everybody just wasn't interested because they weren't getting feed-in tariff anymore. So that was fine. But what I came out and did was I had more time on my hands. And that's when I was at the solar panel shop that I was renting to try out my business. And across the road, and this was like high streets were literally half empty. Because in the recession, 2007 and 2007 and between 2007 and 2010, literally a lot of businesses went into recession, bankrupt, administered. So when I looked across the road, and I said to my partner now, who was my builder then, what do I do? You know, I can't stay in my business. It's a dying business. So what do I do next year? I'll either go back to where I was actually renting my old business, and that's going to be a decision for another 10 years because you don't just move your business and, you know, um, it takes time and effort, or find something new to do. So when I looked across and thought, what if I move my business and start my own clinic in my own property rather than renting?
Yeah.
And then even though I won't get half the business that I would at the location because of the football, but it means that at the end of, say, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, I'll still have my own property and it wouldn't matter as much. It's not dead rent.
Yeah.
So that's how I got into buying my first property, commercial property. I got started in that. And then because it was 3 floors, I was thinking, okay, I only need the first floor. So whatever is the other 2 floors, it's a no-brainer that one day I'll have the money, I'll do it up and rent it out.
Yeah.
So there was no training or anything. It was just a need, a change of circumstances, and it happened at the right time. So in those days, the property, like you can buy, I bought something for 145,000. Today, the market will be 300 for the same property. Now, in those days, I mean, it's still a lot of money, but whereas one person can actually finance a whole property by themselves. Now, if you were doing 300,000 today, you probably need 2 people to finance that for the same property, and you're not getting the same rent. Or if you are, imagine you're splitting that between 2 people with income, and your finances have doubled. So whereas paying like about 1,100 on a repayment per month for 10 years, you're borrowing 300 now and doubling that. So imagine you're probably between both of you, you're paying 1,800 on your mortgage. So
Yeah,
it's a huge difference, and then you're getting the same amount of rent.
exactly. Yeah,
So
yeah.
it's a total different amount. Yeah, the game is total different. Yeah, because of. But if you don't know any different and you're just starting in, then it's okay because you don't know any different.
Yeah, yeah. No, for sure. I think the way to invest in property has changed, and which is why I wanted to ask you, do you reckon it's good to rent rather than invest in property? Well, it could be personal property or commercial property, but which one do you think is better in today's climate? And also thinking about somebody planning for their wealth in the next 10, 15 years, like you said, thinking ahead. What
Mhm. So it's a difficult question because it's all about the price of the interest, the base rate, and how it's moving up and down. The cost of renting probably is either the same or even cheaper some properties than it is to get, to do your repayments and to do your interest only.
Yes.
So it kind of all depends. It's about more, I think today's market would be more about mindset. Where do you see yourself in 5, 10, 15, 20 years? Do you want to, and how old are you? And, where are you in your life? Do you want to try out different careers, different countries, different, I don't know, you want the freedom to not stick to one location.
Yeah.
I think that is the main thing. If you are, for example, a young family or family starting out, you've got children, it's more about the children. They need a catchment area for the schools they're in. So if you can't afford that to buy it, you have to rent in a catchment area and pay a higher rent.
Yeah.
But if you can, obviously buy it, then the choices are that you probably will do that because you think the school's going to be like 7 years there anyway. And if
Yeah.
you've got more than one child coming up, you're going to be there longer. You've got good parts of be there for a decade. So it might be worth investing because you're staying in one location.
Yeah.
So that's what I would say. The other thing I would say is, excuse me. So it's all about different rental trends, upfront costs. So as I was saying before, we were paying 150,000 for a property, and now it's 300 typically. In the UK, this is I'm talking about between 10, 15 years ago. That's how much it's gone up
Yeah.
in value.
Fantastic.
Now, will it still go up in another 10, 15 years time and double up? I don't know, but it will still go up. That's the only thing. If you buy today, if the market's not going up in the next 5 years, it's okay whether it's today you buy it or in 5 years' time to go, years as prediction that you don't, that you go into the market. So it's okay to actually rent or to buy it right now.
Yeah.
And don't forget at the beginning when you're buying it, your payments, even though it's repayments, I'm talking about repayments, it's the curve is still very, very slowly rising. You hardly pay much off in the first 5 years before, and then afterwards, then it goes into more exponential faster after the 5 year period. So
Yeah.
do you want to start earlier to get into that flow of paying off your property? Is it an asset or is it a liability? Is always a question.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
But yeah, but I do think that as a human being, or maybe we, for example, my parents come from the East, so people from that side of the world regards their home as a form of security.
Yeah.
And that might be very important to a family. It's that security, knowing that they own their own home, even though the mortgage, the interest, the money is very much the same as renting at the beginning for the first maybe 5, 6, 7 years.
Yeah, yeah. I agree with that. Property could be an asset or a liability depending on where you are, at what stage in your life you start investing in property. But at the end of the day, if you're renting, you don't own anything. Let's say you kind of have an agreement for 15 years to pay off your mortgage in 15 years. At the end of 15 years, at least you will have an asset. So I guess it's about weighing the options, what kind of property it is, what are your mortgage payments, what do they look like, what are the interest rates, and in how many years are you going to repay? And also, there could be a potential where you can use that property to buy a bigger property. I mean, I've seen people move up with properties. Could you explain that concept a bit?
Yeah, I mean, I never knew that concept until my mum was said to me, just get in. The first property may not be the one that you actually like, want to buy really. It's not your size, it's not where you want to live, etc., etc. But it's what you can afford and get onto the ladder. Because once you've actually put your deposit in, bought the first property, okay, it could be a temporary thing, 2 years, 5 years. But as the property prices are going up, as I say, as we're saying, like 10, 15 years, it's doubled for me, literally,
Yeah.
probably, depending on the market today.
Yeah.
It goes up and down a little bit, but you're chasing the deposit you're chasing is different. So, for example, if you're leaving it 10 years later to buy something, the exact same house, that is a small house. It wasn't the one that you wanted, but the first house cost 200,000 is what you can afford. You can't afford the 300 one. So typically at 20%, 25%, you need, say, just call it 25, you need 50,000. Now, if you're buying the same house in 10 years time, it costs 300,000. What is your 25% there? Now you need a bigger deposit, but the loan you have got in 10 years' time is much more huge
Yeah.
compared to the first loan 10 years ago, right? So then that's why it's harder to get on that ladder and that debt you own is even higher. So really, the earlier you get into the first one, and that has capital appreciation as well, you earn that capital appreciation from 10 years later, and you don't have as much debt.
Yeah.
So I guess in a way you've kind of, I suppose I've answered the question for you in a way. Um, yeah, is why. But when you've got that deposit in there and it's also appreciated, the next house you're going on to, remember that house is appreciated as well, but you've got a bigger deposit compared to what you needed to save before.
Yeah. 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 That makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I've seen a lot of people do that, and I think getting onto the ladder is the bigger task. And and like you said, if you start early, it'll be more beneficial rather than, becoming a liability. So this I come to my next question here. So what would your advice be to somebody who's in their 20s, 30s, and 40s? Obviously, very different stages in life, but about investing in property and having, I think a portfolio of investments because you're a portfolio expert, right? So what would your ideal, I mean, this is just like we're just having a, general discussion, and obviously it's not financial advice of any sort, but what would, you kind of just, if you had to give away, for somebody in the 20s, 30s, and 40s, like if they're behind investing, they haven't invested and they want to invest or to learn about investing, what would your advice be to them?
Oh, the first thing is interest. Can people make money in any segment? You can. Can people lose money in any sector? You can. So it's all about, you need to really know what areas are you interested in investing. So for me, for example, I've never been so digital I just never had that interest. Some people are just purely digital, and it can only kind of like be interested in and have their passion in that way, spending time with computer and technology and looking at market assessments. For me, that's a no. So I am traditional, and I've gone down to the route of buying hardcore assets, which is a slower pound. I'll be honest with you, it's slower, but the foundations are stronger. Now, with digital assets, stocks, shares, and etc., it can be quite volatile, and it all goes to the market But over time, if you hold it long enough, it should grow. And if it doesn't grow, you just don't sell it. That's all. You just keep it until it's at a price that you want to sell it, whether it's break even or it's just it increase a little bit more. So I would also say is obviously it depends on how much you've got to invest, right? So we are the driver of success. People make money in all sectors and people lose money in all sectors. It's all about the driver. It's not about whether the car is dangerous or fast or slow. It's all about the driver, how they drive it and maneuver it. Everyone can press the fast button, can put the gas pedal on when the market, everything is rising, but when you're taking turns, when you're taking the shifts, where there's a car in front of you, when the lorry pulls out, are you able to make that integrity of being able to stay safe as safe for other people around you as well? So that's the thing. It's all about the driver, as I say, in any investment or business and how you go along with your life. So someone in their 20s are not going to have a lot of deposit unless their parents give them something. I would probably honestly say that because where are they going to get the money from? So first thing is their job. How could they earn and save enough money from the job? Which is really hard nowadays, to be honest, to save enough money to say, oh, I need 60,000 or 100,000 or 200,000 cash to get into London or something. So it's very hard to get into that deposit to build up in your 20s. So you'll be experiencing your career, making sure that that builds up well before you can negotiate salary. If you're doing well, taking up a better job. In the older days, keeping a job for longer means that you can grow in the company and there's security and there's good pension. Nowadays, it's actually a different game altogether. You need to change your job every 3 years or something. Yes,
Get an
it's
internet.
completely different.
So different nowadays. Yeah. So
Yeah, because your employer might not see you in the same light as you were when you applied for the job and working. So, and you think you might be worthy of no 10 grand more for your job, but your employer's thinking, well, why should I pay you 10 pound more you've only been here a year or 2 years? But you know that your ability has, that out there are markets which will fulfill your requirements for your ability. So always upgrade your ability is the thing. And then negotiate your salary. If you can't, then you need to go elsewhere to find the tick boxes of your salary. So you need to job hop. The likelihood is most people need to start a side hustle, a side business. So whether weekend or after work, and it's so easy nowadays to start a side hustle or what we call a gig because everything is online digital. And you can make money by selling things on eBay. That's years ago. I did that as a side job. I had extra stock and I would just get rid of it that way so that the expiry dates don't go over. I could sell my personal items and things like that. And I could sell things to other people whilst I had free time. So in those days, you can still do it now. You can make your own business and Shopify. How many people don't even need to take stock? Or there's drop shipping as well. So you have to take side hustles to increase your salary of what actually you've got. And if you want stability in your job, but you want to add extra income, then that comes in. Weekends, do other jobs, take up other jobs. Now online is more easy than anything. Have to buy stocks and shares, invest what you get out of your income, and invest in stocks and shares. Some people do mutual incomes and ETFs and index funds. Obviously, we're talking about real estate, then you need that deposit or learn how to make money in real estate. You don't have to buy. You can be property sourcer, for example, how to find people good deals and have a cut in between or commission in between. Some people get into property by rent to rent. So they rent other people's property and split the rooms up or do self-service accommodation, short stays, Airbnbs, and they make money from a daily rate from paying a monthly rate to the owner. So that there are ways, but I think the most quickest ways are something online where you can do freelancing, you can do digital work for other people, you can even make sales calls and affiliated marketing for other people. It all depends on your setup and how much knowledge and, should I say, leverage that you get. Saving, but at the end of the day, you still can't automate everything. You still need to turn the wheel. There's
Yeah.
nothing for free.
Yeah.
Yeah, and those everybody be doing that. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, great. And what about somebody in the 30s and 40s? I can combine the answer. But because people in their 30s are more settled, I mean, that's not the norm, but like usually married and they have kids and all. So, what would your advice on somebody investing in their 30s be who hasn't really gotten to the property ladder or hasn't had many investments? Probably spent everything on the wedding and honeymoon. What would your advice be to such people?
It will be the same pretty much like the 20s. It's all about what you begin with and what you've got. So someone who doesn't have all of that will need to rent. But can they live with their parents? Is a quick way to start saving money.
Mm.
The main thing that nowadays people have is about expenses. Okay, getting the money in is one issue, and then expenses is the other. Because we tend to, in this society, we tend to spend what we earn. So it doesn't really matter whether you're earning 20 grand, 40 grand, 60 grand. You tend to lead a lifestyle according to what we're earning.
Yeah.
I find that a lot of people, especially at the beginning stage, is they made their savings before they were married. They made their savings whilst they were living with their parents. So they're able to save all the salary, most of 80% of the salary, 90% of the salary. And they have spent money, they've seen the world, you know. So marriage and children are becoming later and later, usually in their early or later 30s nowadays. I see people getting because they love that freedom and they want to live life and they really understand what it means between the balance of having work balance and and having a personal life. So I guess the investing is pretty much the same because it's just what money you have to begin with.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. That's fine. That's good. There's a segment in this podcast where I let you ask a question about the Inner Circuit book, and then I'll answer and kind of explain what the book is about and all of that. So, yeah, if you want to ask me anything, should do it.
With your book, what is the general big aim, general big purpose of why you've wrote this intention for your book? And who is it aimed for? And what are the advantages?
Okay, sure. Basically, the book I've written is using ancient yogic principles from yoga, basically Ashtanga yoga, and I've kind of translated them into simple terms for people of our millennial generation and the younger generation to understand. And it's not just about the poses, it's about the mental aspect of it as well. And because there are a lot of people relying on social media constantly, people are anxious and it's stressful for people. So, a toolkit what people can use in their lives, like how to do meditation, breath work, and all of that. So it's a toolkit for Gen Z or Gen Beta. So all these younger generations, I thought it's very important for people to at least have that knowledge. It's eternal. It's been passed down the ages and still relevant in today's day and age. And yoga, and especially this is about Ashtanga yoga, which is a very ancient form of yoga, and it comprises not just about physical aspect of working your body out. It's also about the mental training and mental workout. So it combines the mental, physical, and spiritual. So I think it's very important. Everything is so fast paced, and especially the younger generations, their reliance on phones and social media. And Oxford has come up with the new word for 2024 is brain rot. So there is a negative impact of social media and technology. And I think this ancient wisdom, it resonates even in today's age, how they can use the power of their mind to make their life better. The main aim of the book is to pass on that knowledge about that ancient yogic wisdom in simple, plain English for anybody to understand. There's a roadmap on how you can adopt this way of living and make yourself better and achieve whatever you want in life. And Angela, because you are also very attuned to spirituality and such practices, and I think you would also resonate with this, that there is a need that we need to be able to control our mind for it to be at peace and to be able to concentrate, for it to bring its actual potential out. And there's so much within us, but we just don't focus on that.
I think my take on that would be that most people are facing it's a difficult world at the moment with everything that is out there, a lot of technology, a lot of comparisons, like you say. But the main issue that we're having with society nowadays is mental health is getting worse and worse. And with that issue, as a human being, it means that we don't know how to think and how to be anymore, because we don't know what to expect of ourselves. And we start losing our own spirit, our own soul, our own being of who we should be and how we should think and feel.
Yeah.
I think that's the majority of the issues that people are having in this world right now. Whereas like 20 years ago, people are still working with being busy at work, being employed. Here's the status quo, a bit like a factory coming out, churning.
Yeah.
But now we're saying, okay, we're not churning out a factory anymore. We're all individuals, but we don't know how to be individuals. How are we supposed to think?
Yeah.
And we look at TikTok for ideas of how we should be for our age and compare other people to ourselves.
Exactly.
So I think that's the most difficult. And your book is going to be endless, because the more ancient wisdom, which is the way that humans have been for all these millions of years, that's where we find peace. Because at the end of the day, we all just want love, peace, and harmony.
Absolutely. Yeah. It is very important to stay close to your inner self. And that will only come if you give yourself time. Like constant scrolling is not going to help you. Constantly overloading yourself with information is not going to help you. And your intuition guides you. So you have to strengthen that. And that will only come with meditation, in my view. Yeah. With that note, Angela, I want to ask what your mindset as an entrepreneur, as a single mother raising two kids by herself and all these different businesses, what is your driving force? What's the mindset behind it?
I wouldn't completely say that I looked after my kids myself. I've let my ex-mother-in-law take that pride in looking after children, because if it wasn't for her, I would say that I wouldn't be where I am today. So that's one very big, I must make that statement, because I'm brought up by my grandma. I remember my grandma said to me when my parents had also arguments and internal marital issues, as all relationships go, is, look, I'm the one who brought the children up. If anyone is going to split the inheritance, it needs to go 3 ways, not 2.
Yeah.
So by these words, I always say, whoever has helped you out, you mustn't forget. So that's one thing that I always cherish and will always value, is that because she's able to look after my children, I'm able to do what I'm doing, put the time in to do my work and grow. And sometimes with life, you don't have that choice. If I can't have my divorce unless I give custody to my children, to the other half, but I know it's best because the grandma will be better at looking after the children and preparing everything. So that way, the best outcome is for the family. So I get to see my children at weekends and holidays and every now and then, and they're very busy with going to grammar school. So so I would just like to clarify that as to aside. But I get other women who make comparison to me. And that's the thing. When they meet me, they say, "Oh, I'm so inspired that you have so many properties, you have a great portfolio, you make so much wealth, this and that and the other." But I say to them, look, you look after your own children, you bring up your own family. So we only have 24 hours in a day. Your time is committed to bringing the family up, spending good time, quality time, watching your children grow up. I don't have that.
Yeah.
And if it's anything I regret, it is that part of it. So, but because of that, I'm not going to waste my time mourning and doing negative things and thinking negatively. I've used it positively to grow my finance, grow my wealth. So I'm able to pay for my children's private school.
Yeah.
And guess what? They got into the best schools in the whole area, and they're doing marvelous. And my son's being spoken at Harvard University and
Amazing.
things like that. So we're able to do great things because of money and wealth. But there has been setbacks, and there has been a
Sacrifice
lot of
that you've had to make.
sacrifices, definitely. So, sorry, what was the question? I just lost myself there.
What's your mindset and what's your driving force?
Yeah, so I literally, it is my children. I want to be an inspiration and a role to my children to tell them there is no limit to the sky or even beyond the sky. You know,
Yeah. Yeah.
a long time ago, I said to my son when he was like the height of my legs, he said, "Mom, what can you see in the sky?" And I looked up and I said, "Well, I can see the stars, I can see the sun, I can see the astronaut, I can see lots of," and then he said, "Well, how can you see that far, Mom? I can't see that far. So people see this far." And I said, "Well, just because you can't see it there, it doesn't mean it's not there."
Mm,
And he said to me, "No wonder you see things differently, Mom." And
amazing.
that's the thing. It's our internal way of thinking and seeing things that will drive us to where we are going to go,
Mm. How
right?
inspiring.
It's our vision, it's our perspective of, okay, well, I have nothing now, I have no resources, but there's always resources because we have our greatest resources, our assets, our mind. So if you can think of it and you can create it, that's the whole being of, that's a great thing about being human is that you can create
Yeah.
your own reality.
Amazing.
And I think the second thing is being trying to be inspirational to women in general and ethnic minorities as well, especially women and traditional women who've come from traditional backgrounds, thinking that, oh, this is the way that women have been in the last so much centuries. But hey, I was the only Chinese girl in my school until I was at university. And even then in my class, I was only two were Chinese compared to many. And I grew up living like I was different and I don't know any better. So with my own kind of people, when I went back to Hong Kong, where my parents come from, people seem different there. Not because of just the look, but when I spoke, when I act, the way I dress, they think I'm different. So I don't belong there with the people that look like me. And yet I don't look like the people that I'm surrounded with in this Western part of the world.
Yeah.
So just the whole idea is just be you
Yeah.
and enjoy being yourself because everyone else is taken.
Absolutely.
Embracing your own individuality and just enjoy that.
Yeah. Yeah. Amazing. That is truly inspiring. The other thing is now, obviously, entrepreneurship is not for everyone, right? And you seem to be a bit of a risk taker as well. So, what would your advice be? What kind of, yeah, advice be to people who have just started, you know, a small business or a small gig or a small startup, for instance? And how should they, because entrepreneurship is tough. So what are your maybe two or three top lessons for people who've just started off their entrepreneurial journey, and how do they overcome pressures and challenges of being burned out or something? How do they manage burning out and stuff like that?
Yes. So obviously when you start, it's all hard work. It's all you're not going to see results for maybe 2 years. I would honestly say break even is probably 2 years. It is the average break even time of what you inject. But the thing is, if you want to grow, you can't take money out. You have to keep on injecting, reinvesting, and regrowing. That's the issue with a business is that most entrepreneurs who are successful, they don't get successful until the third year, fifth year of their journey. And I remember I has been, I would say, hustling for nearly 6 years. So in 6 years of that time, there's rarely been holidays. There's all the money's been reinvested. I remember if I had any money that came out from the bank or is all money that is able to create a new mortgage, for example, and so that's reinvesting buying another property. The thing is, you can buy that property, but to get it up and going and rent it out, it costs you money to refurb it. So
Yeah.
refurbishment cost doesn't, you don't get to borrow loans for that unless it's quite a big project. Nowadays, you can do a bit of borrowing loan, and like if you're converting to a HMO or a big commercial conversion, and the bank might see you as okay, your GDV is worth this much, so there's that much profit in it and how much income you're going to make from it. We believe your proposal, so we'll lend you the money to do the works. But in the olden days, where I started, there wasn't. It was all credit cards.
Mm.
So you maximize your money to the max. I'll put your deposit down, and then you're thinking, right, where do I get money from to do this refurb? It's cost me 30 grand. I don't have any money. So if you had a 7K credit card, you max it out, and you have to figure out, you have to be resourceful.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
the idea is, what is resourceful is, okay, where can you cut down on costs to make it still the same brilliant outcome? So I thought things like secondhand furniture, used a lot of upcycled materials, collected a lot in a van with my partner during the day to save money. Even conservatories, we built conservatories and outdoor buildings by secondhand conservatories. We put 3 or 4 old conservatories together
Okay.
just to save costs. And the roofing, we used plastic roofing and things like that. And it did the job. At the time, it did the job. And the valuation, when it came to revaluing the building and getting the money out, we got all our money out plus more. So that's how I kind of grew the snowball from one to another without asking for other investors to inject money.
Yeah.
For today's market, it still can be the same. You still have to make your costs and make different contributions. Or there's more people are now aware of property, of investing. And if you're good at something, you can find partners who are investing in you. So you
Right.
have to sort of share, do or crowd fund in a way.
Yeah. Yeah.
And there's platforms to do that as well.
Yeah. Any other lessons from a perspective of handling pressure?
Yeah. And so it's all about your habits, I would say. If handling pressure is down from person to person, how much you can take, how much pressure, whether it's financial, mental, emotional, that you can take, and then relationship and time you spend with relationship, you could lose somebody along the journey. And somebody could divorce you on the way because you never spent time in the relationship. All
Mm.
sorts of things. So your bond between your children could change as well
Yeah.
because you had never had that time. So that habit is very important. How do you play out in every aspect of your life? So, how do you handle pressure? Do you go to the gym every day and do 20 minutes, half an hour, 1 hour, and go to spa and let it all out? Do you do talk therapy? Communication is a huge thing between you and your partners, whether it's business or whether you're in partnership. Can anyone else help you? So, leverage is a huge thing. Now we have all these digital platforms. So you can reduce the time. You write an article, a blog, you use your SEOs, ChatGPT to do things much more faster. Obviously, you need to put your own edge in. They're only tools. So don't overdo it and it looks fake. You
Yeah.
can't. What I've seen now is people are actually just using AI and putting their face on, and it's so robotic. I can tell instantly, and I just put it next. And I think other people are going to notice this and think, this is not real. I'm going to look at something else. So I think when people overdo it, that's the issue with AI.
Yeah.
And but the leveraging, like now, we don't have to have a meeting and go to a recording studio. We're using Zoom. Everybody's got Zoom. And a couple and 40 minutes you get free as well if you didn't have the paid version. So we can do things and save time. We don't have to travel. We don't need the fuel costs. We don't need to go and find a location, rent a room to do this.
Yeah.
So that has massive leverage.
Mm.
So platforms are a tool. It saves you time, saves you money. And imagine in the olden days, it takes you a whole day for me to get into London to meet somebody, to do something. You find all that energy and then come back again to do one interview to meet someone. So there's a huge leverage, but I can't emphasize though, sometimes it is always best to have met that person at least once or twice because it's a different type of relationship, I think, in a physical way or form.
Absolutely. I agree with that. I mean, you can work remotely, you can have remote chats, but when you meet someone in person, you get the other person's vibe, they get your vibe.
I would never, and many people in the poverty area, I can only speak of property and I'm in family offices as well. But I don't see any investor, apart from banks and institutions, okay, but any investor as a personal investor for you to inject money with you or join business with you just over digital, it really rarely happens. You can make introductions, but that initial coffee and that initial contact, human to human, builds that trust. And there's something about the hormones or the way that we're connecting when we're seeing and touching and seeing something in reality, it
Yeah.
creates more of a reality and trust. And I think I don't really see people will lend money to anybody just over Zoom calls.
That's a
So
interesting
yeah,
point.
if I was doing a business, if I was doing a business review or something, I would want to meet you at some point before I even put my money down,
Yeah.
because there's a lot of hidden things that cannot be shown. Like it's much more now easier that I can see you and human being form on Zoom, but it's not. It still lacks that one level up from that trust and
Yes.
injecting my money down with you and making a business with you. If you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, no, that's a very interesting point. And I agree with you totally because I don't trust people very easily. And the more you meet people, the more you understand about human psychology. And we are all humans at the end of the day. We're not robots. That time hasn't come yet. I agree that trust element is important, not just in your personal interactions, relationships, but it's so important in your professional ones too. And I also have this chat with my husband so often because he trusts everyone just by meeting them. I'm like, no, don't trust them so soon. Just give them some time. So yeah. Okay. And one last question, Dr. Angela, and this one I think with this will conclude the podcast, is how do people create sustainable wealth while maintaining balance in their lives? How do they have that balance and maintain or create wealth and maintain it?
Well, the first thing is, what's your wealth? What does it mean to you? Wealth is not just money, it's emotional, it's everything put into total. And it's a balance of a total of everything. Relationships is wealth as well, love is wealth. So we need a balance of everything. But wealth really starts in the mindset of what it is. It's not just what's in the bank. That's the
Yeah.
first thing. Money is necessary to drive this world, to be in this world of where we are, to be able to have choices and freedom to do what you want and when you want and be who with maybe who that
Yeah.
depends on the other person or what you want. So the thing is, most wealthy people, they see opportunities. They see life is full of opportunities. They're more positive. It's their vibration. It's their energy. And because of that, that's what drives people to them. People want to connect to them because of their energy, regardless whether they have money or don't. Because if you're a teenager or your 20s or your 30s, some people don't have money or they've had to look after the people in their lifetime. So it's not about that. People are attracted to people because of their energy and who they are. And from that positivity and the vibration, then it generates opportunities and people start talking. And then when you start talking, they're like, oh, you could go into this, I could teach you this, or you could invest in that, or I know somebody who can help you that. So that creates opportunities. And that's where communication comes in. I know AI can do that in creating those opportunities for you.
Yeah.
Your net worth is your net worth. I didn't understand this like 10, 15 years ago. But I started going into meetings and things like that. But it's really opened doors for me.
Hmm.
So it's opened doors. If I had a project, I needed money. This is the most basic thing in networking. Or if you're selling a product, you need people, you need people. You need the more numbers, the more people you tell that you're of the product. Like, for example, I do stem cell patches and things like that, health products as well. So the more people you tell, the likelihood is out of 10 people, one person will buy from you. That's another customer. Rather than being stuck at home or don't know what platform to use.
Yes.
So that's why they say your net worth is your net worth. And also, who do you know that can also help you do this or etc. That's really important. But some people just think there are days where I think, I don't really want to go out. I want to dress up. I'm too tired. I've just come from work. I don't want to go to another network meeting. I'd rather stay at home or rather watch the TV or something. But the truth is, everybody might feel that way. Some people are not. Where do we get energy from? You know. But once you're motivated and you're out there, you put yourself out there, just show up. You don't know who you're going to meet in that meeting. And the majority of times that I've been out there not wanting to go out there, every single time I pick up so much value, so much quality networking, friendship, learning, some inspirational words, something just clicks because I haven't thought about something else.
Yeah.
There's always value when you go out there and meet people.
Mhm.
And it's how you are. Are you an open book so that you can write your own story and write your own wealth,
Yeah.
right? Or are you a closed book and let somebody else dictate your wealth? Because don't, if you don't have a plan for yourself, you're somebody else's plan. You work for somebody else. You're actually in somebody else's business or somebody else's plan of their wealth strategy. So I'm not saying that you shouldn't work for somebody else, but if you're working for somebody else, okay, what are you going to do with the education that you take from it, experience you take from it, and the money you take from it? Are you going to take these away and do something for yourself for a plan? Because initially you do.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's okay to even graduate and work in McDonald's for half a year just to understand systems,
Yeah.
experience, and learn from that. So maybe you might want to take that away and do a business yourself and be able to systemize and
Yeah.
know customer service and know how to manage.
Yeah.
So it's not necessarily about the job, it's about the experience you take away and what you want to get out of it.
And the skills to be able to kind of create something of your own.
Yes, yeah, yeah. And I've mentioned before your habits determine your financial destiny, what you do every day, because everything is compounding. That's a huge thing as well about compound. Even if you even read 2 pages a day, that could be how many books a year compared to reading only one book a year for 1 month.
Yeah.
It's all about the compounding effect. Your exercise, your routine, your food. One Mars bar a day can increase 20 kg by the end of 2 years, 1.5 years. It's unbelievable. Just that one Mars bar a day. So it's all about the compounding effect and saving. If you learn to save earlier, and it grows, that money grows because not only grows, it compounds in the bank even. I know
Yeah.
the bank has been very low interest rate, but if you invest in something that's 4 or 5%, you're going to get double by year 6, 7.
Yeah. Yeah. I think I'm glad you mentioned this point on compounding because it's so important, not just in financial space, but also in other aspects of your life. But just to come to that financial bit, because that's the topic of discussion today. I mean, I do feel that the bank rates, especially in UK, are so low, and I don't see the point in even saving that much or keeping the money in the bank account. But like you said, hard money, in the sense the physical money, is slow. It moves slowly as compared to digital assets. So I think having that sort of perseverance and not waiting to be instantly gratified with your investments is the key as well. Because people have to be patient with where they have invested because it takes time to compound, right? It takes time to grow. And I think that is one of the key takeaways that one, as an investor or as a new or a beginner investor, one needs to understand and adopt as part of their financial strategy or understanding. What do you think?
True. I mean, you're not going to see anything for the first 4 years, 5 years. And it's like, wow, what's that? 2% or something. And then by year 6, 7, that's when it really kind of grows. I remember when when I was 18, I couldn't afford a Cartier watch and it was £1,000, but I was a student then and I had the part-time work. So I wasn't even working, part-time work. And I used to get £100 for a week for working part-time 2 days. And that was be my car fuel, my food, everything. Luckily, my accommodation was paid for. So what did I do? I put it on interest finance, and I paid. I think it was £17 a month on,
Okay.
on on the watch. And I think after about a year or year and a half, I paid it off. So
Mm.
I learned how to buy things and how to finance things very early. And that's what I would say to young people or any age. Finance things, have a payment scheme. Even if it's small, still do it because it gets you into a habit of saving and having the things that you want. A house is exactly the same. It's just the Cartier watch is 1,000. Then a house is 100,000 then. So it's the same thing. Start saving early.
Mm.
And it doesn't matter. It's the habit of it that creates that drives you to have bigger X number zeros at the end when you are much older. So even though I use money now a bit more sparingly than I did the first 7 years of my property journey,
Yeah.
because you've got to have that balance, okay, at some point, how much is enough and when is it that you start living a life? and doing the things that you want to do, spend the things that you want to do, have the car you want to have. It's
Yeah.
fine. But I make the money first, and the money helps me grow. So I don't, you have to think, is make money your worker, not the other way around. Don't chase the money, attract the money.
Wow.
Because it's a huge mindset. Yeah, it's a huge different thing. And wealthy people, they buy assets. They don't buy liabilities.
Yeah. Absolutely.
That's another big thing. And that's another big thing to go into. What is assets? Assets generate you money,
Yeah.
and liabilities, they eat your money. So buying that Gucci suit and everything else, okay, have one set.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Yeah.
This Chanel bag. I used to have it, all those bags.
Yeah.
But nowadays, people don't look at me because I use a Chanel or I use a £50 bag from whatever. People look at me and think, oh, she's actually well versed, educated, she's well informed. It's her wisdom, it's her experience, it's her groom, her look, the way she walks, it's her confidence. You know, it's way beyond what you wear and dress because people look way beyond that. And initially, they may. When you're in your 20s, you really care about your look and your makeup, this and that. But I think as you grow older and you get more confident, actually, wealthy people, they don't really care about materials, how they look and
Yeah.
dress
Mm.
because they're so, yeah, their wealth is inside of them
Yeah.
and outside in a different way invested. They know what they've got. They're confident who they are.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the difference. And while your yoga book and that is trying to create that end result is
Mm.
to be that confident person that you are, that resilient, that wealthy person that you are, not in terms of just money, but in terms of being confident, knowing who you are, what you want in life, being happy with who you are,
Yeah.
and all round, emotionally, mentally, physically, and your health.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Beautiful.
we only have this body.
So well said. That's beautiful. I think that kind of sums it up, the whole discussion, that wealth is not just money, and it's a whole lot of other aspects of your life, your relationship with your partner, your kids, how you take care of yourself, your health. Health is absolutely important because if you don't have health, then it's hard to maintain all other aspects. That's a beautiful. Thank you, Dr. Angela. It has been an incredible conversation. I enjoyed myself thoroughly. What about you?
I love it. The theme is really well wrapped up. The theme is supposed to be more financial here, and I would just don't let money control you. You have to control money. And what I mean by that is the amount of debt that we have in society nowadays, which means that you're controlled by your credit cards. And most people don't think, they just, oh, it's gone because it's so easy
Mm.
to just spend money on a card. If you had hard cash, people think it's 15% more expensive of an item than it is to do a credit card because credit card, you just don't see it, feel it, touch it. It's the mindset. So that's what I would say. Be careful with your money, spend it wisely, invest it wisely, and buy the things that you need to buy and let go of things that you don't. So you should ask yourself, do I want to buy this? Go back to it 3 times. And if the third time it's still a yes, then it's okay because it makes you happy. Oh, you need it.
That's a good tip. Thank you so much for sharing your wisdom on property management, investment, and everything. And to everyone who's watching, I hope you've taken away practical insights that you can start applying. Remember that building wealth isn't just about money, like we just discussed. It's about making smart, informed decisions that create long term financial security. If you enjoyed this episode, then please share it with someone who needs to see it. And don't forget to subscribe, rate, or even leave a review. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Thank you, Dr. Angela. It's been a fantastic conversation. And I do look forward to a next one sometime soon on hypnotherapy, spirituality, and all of that. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Shida. Thank you so much.
Thank you.